Okay, let's unpack this a bit because it's quite stark when you hear it. Imagine a child, maybe just 4 years old, being suspended from school.
Right.
Suspended for racist behavior. It's a really jarring image, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
But it's an uncomfortable truth we need to look at. Just last year, the figures showed over 15,000 reported suspensions for racist incidents.
15,000.
Yeah, and that's a huge jump. We're talking over 50% in just 2 years. It went from around 9,500 up past 11,000 to over 15,000.
And you know, what's really striking, or perhaps sadly not striking, is that for a lot of people working in education, or especially for Black parents, these numbers, well, they're deeply alarming, yes, but maybe not entirely surprising.
Right, like it confirms a worrying reality.
Exactly. It highlights this urgent safeguarding issue that often isn't really treated with the gravity it needs within schools. It's a real call to action.
And it makes you ask, doesn't it, where does this actually start? Because racist behaviors in schools, they don't just, appear out of nowhere.
No, not at all.
Kids are like sponges, aren't they? They pick things up from everywhere, home, their community, the wider world.
Absolutely. They learn from their environments.
And just sending a child home, I mean, our sources really question if that's enough. It feels like it might even backfire sometimes.
It often does. And if we connect this to the sort of the bigger societal picture, those influences are massive. You can't ignore them.
Can you give an example?
Well, think about something like the Operation Raise the Colors campaign in the UK. You see this surge in St. George's flags, Union Jacks.
Okay.
Now, for some people, that's just patriotism. Simple as that. But for others, like anti-racism groups or even just residents in certain areas, it raises real concerns.
Why is that?
Because there's a feeling these symbols are sometimes co-opted by far-right groups. It can feel intimidating. It sparks these huge debates about national identity, who belongs.
Okay. I see the connection.
Right. It even leads to councils removing flags and then having disputes. It shows just how complex the environment is that kids are growing up in.
So just punishing the behavior at school misses that whole context.
Precisely. The child might just go back home or back into that environment, which might be the source of those views, without any real education or restorative work being done.
That's a really powerful link between the school incident and the world outside. So given all this, the stark numbers, the complexity, our sources point towards a more proactive approach.
Yes, moving beyond just reacting.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today, a tool called the 6 Stages Inclusion Framework.
Yeah, and it's designed specifically to help tackle these issues head on. It's not just theory. It's meant to be a practical developmental guide.
For schools, mainly.
For individuals and organizations, but yeah, especially useful for schools. It helps everyone reflect on their values, their attitudes, their actions around inclusion, bias, privilege, all of that.
And the idea is we all shift between stages.
That's a key insight, yes.
Yeah.
We're not fixed in one place. We move fluidly between these stages based on, well, the situation, our own experiences, where we are at any given moment.
Okay. So with that in mind, let's think about what this means for you listening. Maybe you're a parent, an educator, maybe just curious about how we build genuinely inclusive communities.
Right.
We're going to explore what a truly progressive school looks like using this framework, how it empowers people, and what building that sense of belonging really takes.
So the framework itself lays out 6 distinct stages. Think of it like a spectrum, from really negative environments to incredibly positive ones. It gives us a lens to see where things stand.
Okay, let's start at the bottom then. What's the lowest stage?
That's called -1, harmful. And it's pretty much what it sounds like. This is where you see consistent exclusion, discrimination, maybe even denial that harm is happening.
So what might you actually hear or see?
You might hear someone, a student or staff member, say something like, "It's just not safe to talk about identity here." The evidence in a school like this, frequent reports of racism, discipline that unfairly targets certain groups, and crucially, a real lack of accountability.
Wow, okay, that's a tough starting point to acknowledge.
But vital. You have to see it to change it. Moving up slightly, you get to 0. Resistant.
Resistant. So less outright harm, but still not good.
Exactly. Here, any inclusion efforts often feel a bit superficial, like ticking a box. It might be in the policies, but there's no real buy-in.
People avoid the tough conversations.
Definitely. Conversations about bias get sidestepped or people get defensive. You might hear things like, people here are genuinely scared to talk about racism.
And the school itself.
You'd see generic policies maybe, but No visible, meaningful change. Complaints might get dismissed or minimized. It's really about avoiding discomfort.
Okay, so avoiding the issue. That leads us to the next stage, which sounds like a turning point.
It really is. Stage +1, curious. This is where the shift starts. There's a recognition that just resisting isn't working, and there's a new willingness to actually engage.
To learn, basically.
Yes, to learn about diversity, about inclusion, even if people aren't sure what to do yet. A student might say, we started thinking about difference, but we still have so much to learn.
What does that look like in a school?
You might see the first introductions of EDI content. Equality, diversity, inclusion. Staff start showing more interest, asking questions. Students get curious too.
Right, that initial spark. And where does that curiosity lead?
Hopefully to +2, reflective. This is where the thinking deepens. People start really examining their own assumptions.
Self-reflection.
Genuine self-reflection, yes. And starting to see how systemic bias works, it's not just individual actions. It's baked into the structures.
What might someone say at this stage?
A teacher might say, we're learning more about things like privilege and unconscious bias, and how they actually show up in our classrooms day to day.
And in the school's actions.
You'd expect to see an updated curriculum, one that genuinely reflects diverse perspectives. Ongoing training for staff on DEI, and importantly, open, honest conversations becoming more normal.
Okay, so from curious to reflective, what's next?
Next up is +3, empathic. This stage goes beyond just understanding it intellectually. It's about feeling it and responding actively.
More heart, less head. Or both.
Both, definitely. But the emotional connection is key. There's active listening, really valuing different perspectives, and a genuine care for people who are marginalized.
How would students experience that?
They might feel, yeah, teachers listen to us. They actually care about fairness and what we're going through.
And the evidence. What would we see?
Things like restorative practices being used consistently, focusing on repairing harm, not just punishing. Strong emotional literacy work, inclusive assemblies that feel real, student leadership that actually champions diverse voices.
That sounds like a really positive environment. Is that the top?
Almost. The peak of the framework is +4, equity-driven. This isn't just about feeling empathy, it's about consistent proactive action.
Taking steps to change things.
Exactly. Actively challenging injustice, transforming the systems themselves, and supporting others to do it too. Inclusion isn't just a topic, it's embedded in everything the school does.
What's the feeling there?
The feeling would be, our school doesn't just talk about fairness, it actually changes things to make it fair. You'd see clear anti-racism policies that have teeth, a truly diverse curriculum, student voice genuinely influencing decisions, and ongoing, effective staff training that leads to real, measurable change.
Okay, that's a comprehensive journey through the stages, -1 to +4.
Right. Harmful, resistant, curious, reflective, empathic, equity-driven.
And you mentioned it's practical. How does a school actually use this day to day?
Well, that's the powerful part. It's not just a theory to discuss. There are tools like pupil reflection worksheet.
For kids.
Yeah, adapted for different ages. Say, for younger kids, Key Stage 1 in the UK, they might look at the descriptions. Maybe they identify with +4, equity-driven, if they feel they stand up for others and help make school more fair.
Or maybe the less positive stages.
Or even 1 is 1 harmful, if they admit, sometimes I say or do unkind things. And critically, the worksheet prompts them to think why they chose that stage, or remember a time someone made them feel included or excluded.
So it builds self-awareness right from the start.
Exactly. It's empowering them to reflect.
And what about for the adults, the staff?
It's crucial for staff development, too. Imagine a scenario, maybe from a training session. A Year 3 pupil uses a racial slur at break time.
Okay.
A staff member hears it, just says, that's not nice, sends the pupil away. The child who is targeted gets no support. Parents aren't called, it's not logged properly. Staff just move on. Because honestly, they're maybe unsure what else to do or say.
That sounds unfortunately realistic sometimes.
It can be. So in the training, staff would use the framework. Where does that response place the school or the staff team? Is it resistant because they avoided the real issue?
Or maybe even harmful?
Potentially, yeah, because of the lack of accountability and the exclusion rather than restoration. The framework gives them guiding questions. What specific behaviors or policies here are helping or harming inclusion? What's the impact of this on the pupils involved?
And crucially.
And critically, what could we, staff, leadership, do differently next time to actually move towards a more positive stage, like +3 empathic or +4 equity-driven?
That really highlights the shift away from just punishment, which, as you said, the sources argue is often ineffective.
Completely. Sending kids home for racist behavior without that restorative work, without education. It just misses the whole point, the chance for actual learning and growth.
So, what should the response look like?
It needs clarity, reflection, and education. Be specific with the child and their parents about what was said or done and why it was harmful.
To help them understand the impact.
Yes, support the child to reflect, with a trained adult guiding them. Use a curious, educative approach, not just a punitive one.
And the education piece.
That's fundamental. Actively teach about race, allyship, inclusion in ways kids can understand. Use diverse stories, books, cultural experiences. Widen their understanding, build that empathy muscle.
So when we talk about a progressive school, it's not just a nice label.
Not at all. It's an institution that consciously takes on this huge responsibility.
It's not just trying to stop bad things from happening.
No, it's proactively trying to build that deep sense of belonging for everyone. It gets that. Tackling racism and exclusion needs both things. Individual change and changing the system itself.
And the framework helps structure that work?
Absolutely. It offers real benefits at every level. For individual staff, students, it boosts self-awareness, empathy, communication.
And for the school as a whole?
It's a blueprint for building a genuinely inclusive culture that fosters innovation, makes learning safer, more engaging. It equips students with skills like critical thinking, empathy, resilience. It builds respect.
Which hopefully extends beyond the school gates.
That's the idea. When you zoom out, think about the bigger impact, promoting understanding across communities, driving systemic change, fostering that sense of collective responsibility for a more just and empathetic world. It's this comprehensive, step-by-step way to embed DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion everywhere in the school.
So we've journeyed through this 6 stages inclusion framework. It really does feel like a comprehensive way for schools and individuals too to move from potentially harmful or just resistant places towards being truly equity driven. It's like a roadmap.
It is. And our deep dive today really underscored that message from the sources.
Yeah.
You need both individual work and systemic change to tackle racism effectively.
A progressive school takes that on board.
Fully. It's not just about preventing harm, it's actively building belonging, responding with clarity, yes, but also with deep reflection and continuous education. This framework, applied thoughtfully, builds awareness, empathy, advocacy. It fosters leadership for inclusion.
Which brings us back to you, the listener. Thinking about this framework, this journey, it raises a really important question, doesn't it? If you connect this to your own world, your community, maybe your workplace, even your family, what would it actually look, sound, and feel like to be truly equity-driven?
That's the core question. And maybe think, what's one small step you could take this week? Perhaps a curious step, just learning a bit more.
Or maybe examining an assumption.
Or what a reflective assumption you could examine. Yeah. Just something to move towards that vision of belonging for everyone. Because it's a journey, remember.
A fixed destination.
Exactly. There's always movement between the stages, fluidly. And every single one of us has a part to play in shaping a world that's more empathetic, more just.